Welcome everyone. Today we'll have a build guide and also character review for Ganyu. Now before we start this video, let's quickly have a look at two short clip of a Constellation 6 Ganyu versus the villain and also a Constellation 0 Ganyu versus the villain. I want to show you guys how powerful she can be and how we can build her. Now keep in mind, the first clip is using a 5-star refined bow and also it is using the Blizzard set. So let's have a look at the first clip together. You can see right away, Ganyu can actually shoot the villain before he actually lands, and this is actually massive because she is one of the few characters that can deal AoE damage with a charge shot. And this is a Constellation 6 Ganyu, so this is like over $2,000 Ganyu. Notice that she is using a Blizzard set. I'll show you guys the set as well. You can see that she killed the villain within about 10 seconds. And if we quickly have a look at the set of the artifacts, you can see over here she is actually using the Blizzard set. And she was doing about 60,000 damage to the villain. If we have a quick look, yeah, she's doing about 40,000 and 60,000 damage, depending if she crits or not. If she crits, she does much more damage. Now I'm sure most of us will be thinking that no way we'll be going for a Constellation 6 pay-to-win Ganyu with a 5 refinement bow. But if we come over to this clip over here, we can see a Ganyu with Constellation 0 and also a level 1 bow. So this is 1 refinement bow. And this is pretty interesting. Let's quickly have a look. So this is a Ganyu, and what we're going to see is she's using the Wanderer's Troop. So she's using a different artifact set. And she's trying to hit the dragon, and again, Ganyu is actually shooting on the dragon. By shooting on the dragon, she can deal a lot of damage right after. Notice that she's doing more damage with the charge shots. And there's two reasons for it. One is that she's popping potions and she's also having a stronger team and also different buffs. The second reason is that she's using the Wanderer's Troop for increasing damage, which we'll go through as well. So in this character build and also review video, we'll have a look at the Constellation 6 Ganyu and also how to build a Constellation 0 Ganyu to do a lot more damage. We'll be comparing the difference and options between the Blizzard set for the critical chances and also the Wanderer's Troop for the increase of 35% damage. We'll have a look at the possibilities of using the Gladiator's Finale for Ganyu and also different builds of weapons for Ganyu, what are the purple ones, what are the golden weapons for Ganyu, and how can those work. I also have a number of summary notes for the different builds of Ganyu with the artifact set and also different weapon choices for Ganyu and the reasons behind it. And finally, we'll have a look at the reasons why Ganyu is one of the top tier 5-star DPS character, being at 0 constellations, being able to support and also carry, and also dealing a lot of damage with the elemental combos. Now since the release of Ganyu, I have been testing her a lot with the Fataris, a lot with different combinations. And what I realized is, she is really powerful as an initiating character. She can be shooting her charge shots before she engages the enemies, and she can be dealing a lot of damage by debuffing enemies. So before the Fataris actually build up the shield, I can be dealing a lot of damage, and this allows this character to be super powerful as a starter. And on top of that, she can also enable us to do a lot of elemental combinations. Ganyu's ultimate is also very powerful in terms of radius and also duration. With a 15-second cooldown, she can do a lot, because you can swap into another character and they will also enjoy the increased coil damage. On top of that, they can activate different synergies, with the throw effect, with the elemental effect of the melt, and also dealing a lot of residual damage to the enemy. Even after switching into a different character, you can still do this. And with a 15-second cooldown, she can almost indefinitely cast ultimate with enough energy gain. Now one of the best part about Ganyu is the ability to trigger the melt synergy, which allows us to do 150% more damage. And notice over here, within 2 shots I was able to kill this Fatari. He was silly enough to stand next to a fire lantern or the little torch over here, and he had the fire debuff. If he didn't have the fire debuff, I'll also increase my critical chances against him because of my Blizzard set. But because he had the fire debuff, I cannot increase my critical chances, but with the first shot. The second shot also applies the coil, which increases my critical chances. So with each of my charge shot, what happens is, my first charge attack applies the coil, then my AoE damage benefits from the coil damage to increase my critical chances. With the ability to do melt damage, this is actually very powerful, so she can work very well with the pile characters. Now as one of the first character with a special charge mechanics that deals AoE damage to the enemy, what you can do is, you don't have to aim for the enemy at all. You can aim for the floor of the enemy. Under their feet, you can aim for better AoE damage. So over here I'll be demonstrating us trying for the AoE damage on the enemy. Notice I'm not aiming for the enemy, I'm actually aiming on the floor he's standing. This allows me to do a lot of AoE damage and against multiple targets. I can hit in between enemies and deal AoE damage. So you can see again, I'm trying to aim for his feet. If you hit his feet, you also deal bonus damage too. So if you're aiming on the floor, this guarantees you'll land the AoE damage, and this can be really good. So over here you can see me trying to aim for the floor of the enemies. So instead of aiming for the enemies, I'm actually aiming for the floor, trying to hit both of the enemies at once. It's a little tricky to catch them, but if you do have some good AoE or taunting enemies, you can still do this. So this is quite a good factor. This allows Ganyu to do a lot more AoE damage. Sometimes you can wait for the enemies to come together and then use the AoE factor. So this is really good. And as you can see over here, if you can't hit the enemy, just hit the floor of him. Now on the topic of aiming for the floor of the enemies, what we can also do is we can aim on the weak spot of the enemies. For certain enemies like the humanoid, you can go for the head, and also for the golems, you can go for the core. And once we hit those weak spots, we're 100% guaranteed to deal the critical damage. So regardless how much critical chance you have, you will be 100% guaranteed. So over here notice I'm still trying to aim for the feet, but I can also go for the head, and this can allow me to go for 100% critical chance, which can be very powerful. Now if I come over to the two clips we saw at the start, the first one is from Relent 90, and we did demonstrate this on a particular video. What I want to show you guys is his stats. You can see that his Ganyu is having about 30% critical chance with the Blizzard set, and also 215% critical damage. With the Blizzard set and also her passive, she is likely to get about 50 or 70% critical chances. Now keep in mind, this is a Constellation 6 Ganyu with a refinement level 5 arms bow, so this is a very expensive Ganyu, and her damage is actually very high. I do believe she has about 2600 damage at 2690 damage, and this is a very powerful Ganyu. For most of us, this will be quite difficult to achieve, but coming over to this particular clip by Xiaochujian 1124, over here he actually has a particular Ganyu with Constellation 0 and also building with a different set. So I thought this was really interesting to compare, and what we're going to do is let's first have a look at his stats. It's actually very fortunate to see the stats of different Ganyus. So this is a Constellation 0 Ganyu with 2849 attack. Notice that he does have high attack, and we can see his stats over here. 50% critical rate. He does need higher critical rate because he's not using the Blizzard set. He has 210 critical damage, which is very similar. Over here we can see the 0 Constellation Ganyu also have a refinement level 1 bow. So she is using an AIMS bow, but this is a refinement level 1 bow. So this is not a massive pay to win account, and this is pretty nice to have a look. And over here we can see about 71% increased cryo damage. If we move over to the artifacts over here, we can see that he is actually using the Wanderer's Troop. So notice over here, Ganyu is actually benefiting a lot if she's doing her charge attacks with the Wanderer's Troop, because that increased 35% damage is actually a lot. And finally, we can have a look over here. Our friend here did get Ganyu to level 10 with her normal attack, and this is one of the reasons this low spending Ganyu with Constellation 0 was able to do a lot of damage, because she did get her charge attack to level 10. Now before the release of Ganyu, one of my biggest concerns is that the Wanderer's Troop set increased Ganyu's damage with both of her spells, so that being the Snowflake damage and also the Bloom damage. And coming over to this particular article, which also states that it increased the damage of the Snowflake damage or the Force Flag damage and also the AoE Bloom damage. So both of Ganyu's damages are increased by 35%. And that is why people start to look into the Wanderer's Troop set. I do believe this set has a really good potential. And as I look deeper for the Ganyu builds, I start to realize currently there are 3 popular Ganyu builds. The first one being the Blizzard set with a critical rate build. The second one being the Wanderer's Troop set with the apply of the bonus damage for 35% for the charge shots. And the final one is actually a really interesting one with the Blizzard set and also the Gladiator set for the 15% cryo damage and also 18% attack. This is more of a hybrid set for special effects and also the ability to get better min stats and also sap stats by mixing those artifact sets. So let's briefly go through those top 3 Ganyu builds with artifact sets. Keep in mind guys, those are the builds that was enabling Ganyu to do about 40,000 or even 60,000 damage with most of the standard gears and also artifacts. So this is definitely achievable, whether you're pay to win or if you're low spending, with some good artifact combos you can still do this. So coming over to the artifact min stats, this is the same for all of the build. We'll be going for attack percentage on the timepiece, the goblet with cryo damage and also the crown with critical damage. This is the best way to increase her damage with her critical chances, and over here you can see my artifact sets. You can see this is the attack percentage, this is the cryo damage, and this is the critical damage. I did also build a particular crown to go for critical rate, and what I realized is she has a lot of critical rate, especially with 2 resonance with Cryo, she deals a lot more chances with critical chances. So what she can do is, she can get more critical damage for the higher damage. Now because we're using the full Blizzard set for the first build, we'll be dealing a lot more cryo damage with Ganyu, so we're likely to get at least 20% increased critical rate or even another 20%. So for this particular build, we don't need to build the critical rate too much, because her passive also increases her critical rate by another 20%. So it's actually really nice to have Ganyu with low critical rate and also getting more critical rate from her artifacts and also from her stats. You can see over here another 20% critical rate with firing the arrow. Now for the sub stats for the artifacts. Again, this is similar to all the builds for Ganyu, so we'll be going for attack percentage, critical damage, and also critical rate. We'll be focusing on attack percentage and also critical damage first. Critical rate is not the massive factor because we have so much of that with the Blizzard set. And this is a little different if we come over to the Wanderer Strip set. Notice everything is pretty much the same. The only focus over here is the critical rate. We want critical rate for consistent damage. And if we come over to those 2 clips, the first build with the cryo side of Ganyu, she only had about 30% critical chance. And the second build of Ganyu with the Wanderer Strip, because she doesn't gain additional critical rate, she actually have about 50% critical rate. You can see the difference of those builds by adjusting the artifacts. And that's what I mean by we want some critical rate for the consistent damage. Of course, we can deal more damage with the critical damage, but those numbers don't occur that frequently. So what we should be aiming for both of the Ganyu build, we should be aiming for 1 to 2, the critical rate to critical damage ratio. We can go for higher critical damage after getting her critical chances over 50%, and we should always consider the 20% from her passive. Now the third build for Ganyu is quite interesting. This is a hybrid build using 2 Blizzard and also 2 Gladiator set. If we have a look at the Blizzard set, we gain the 15% cryo bonus damage, and coming to the Gladiator, we gain 18% attack. And with such high base attack, Ganyu is actually very powerful. And because of that, what we can do is, we can go into a hybrid set of artifacts. We can try to select the best main piece and also substats for Ganyu. So if I come over to my account over here, I'll show you guys my artifacts. Initially, I was building for more critical chances, and that's why I went for the Blizzard set. And as I went, I also was able to find some of the really clutch pieces. This being the critical damage on the crown for the critical damage on the Blizzard set, and also I was able to find the cryo bonus damage on the crown. If I wasn't able to find those particular items, what I can do is, I can come over here and search for the cryo damage, and then I look for the best item. I have some of those cryo damage items over here with the critical damage, with the cryo bonus damage. I was prepared to use those. But if I was to use those, I'll have to mix my artifact sets. And this is why I talk about we can go with a hybrid set, because with those hybrid sets, we can mix for the best stats. And sometimes the artifacts like those ones can be really powerful. For example, this is one of my best artifacts. You can see those stats are really nice, and this is not a particular focus set. If I was to get one more piece of the Gladiator's Finale, I can gain 18% increased damage. So what I mean by that is, let's say if I'm going for the Gladiator's Finale over here with the critical damage. I'll show you guys over here. So where is the Gladiator? So let's go to the Gladiator. Notice that my Kachin have a Gladiator critical damage. If I give this one to my Ganyu, my attack will be increased by 18%. Now you may be thinking, 18% increased attack is not a massive deal, right? But for Ganyu's case, this is actually a pretty big deal, because she has such high base damage, and if you have a really high level weapon, she can gain a lot even from 18 or 25% with a base attack. Now to give you guys a demonstration of how much 25% increased attack can be, this is my Ganyu currently on the team without any pyro characters. So she has 2018 attack as her attack, and I'll show you her team over here. Notice I don't have any pyro characters. And what we can do is, if we swap the party with 2 pyro characters, I now gain 25% increased damage to Ganyu. And let's have a look at the magic. So remember my Ganyu was on 2000 at 180 damage. She is on 2433 damage. So never underestimate the attack powers with Ganyu, because Ganyu can gain a lot from 18% or 25% attack. And that's why people are running with the 2 pyros for the team for Ganyu, because she has such a high base attack, and also she gains a lot from the base attack percentage. Because currently Ganyu has the highest base attack in the game, and she can benefit so much more from attack percentage. Now since we're talking about base attack for Ganyu, what are the best weapons for Ganyu? So over here I have listed the top 4 weapons for Ganyu, and also the 5th one as alternatives if you don't have those. So we can see the Amp's bow and also the Skyward Harp being a 5-star bow over here. So those are the 2 weapons, and those have really good stats for critical rate and also attack percentage. Now I have been doing some research between those two 5-star weapons. Initially I thought the 20% critical damage is really good on the Skyward Hub, but after further research and into the aim shot damage and also the increased damage with distance, the aim shot with arms bow is actually perfect for Ganyu. So in comparison, the Skyward Hub of the same level, same refinement is doing 10 to 20% less damage for Ganyu compared to the arms bow. So this is the comparison of the 5-star bows. And currently, people are building Ganyu with the best slot in mind for the arms bow, and that's why people are going for the weapon banner. Keep in mind guys, the weapon banner is still a trap. I do want to highlight this, I haven't went for the weapons banner. I was lucky enough to get my Skyward Hub from the free rolls from the summons from patch 1.2 with the character ascension. But keep in mind guys, the weapon banner is still a trap because you can never be lucky with those. I'll show you over here, I have not rolled once on the weapons banner. Unless you're looking for both of those special weapons and you really want both of those, I don't recommend rolling for those. Because the 50-50 chance, you might end up with a lot of the claymore over the bow. And if you guys remember from the two comparison clips over here, this is a refinement 5 arms bow and the second clip had a refinement level 1 arms bow. So we can see the one over here as refinement. So that's why everyone is using the arms bow, but what if you don't have the 5-star weapons? So we have two really good purple choices, being the Venomous Hunt and also the Black Cliff Warbow. For the Venomous Hunt, this bow actually has decent attack with about 510 and also some really good critical rate. So what I'm thinking for this bow is we can go with this bow if you're going for the Wanderer's Trip build. For the Wanderer's Trip build, you do want higher critical rate because this one doesn't increase critical rate. And if we come to the Black Cliff Warbow, this bow actually increases critical damage. This bow increases a lot critical damage with even higher base attack. So 565 compared to the 510 base attack. And with the Black Cliff Warbow, what we can do is we can also stack a lot of attacks. This bow is a little situational because you do have to defeat enemies for the 12% increased attack. But if we're facing a lot of enemies, we can quickly get 3 stacks of this for 36% attack. And this translates into about 360 bonus attack. And this may be massive. So for the Black Cliff Warbow, what we can do is we can go with a Wanderer's Trip, we can go with a Blizzard set if we have enough critical rate. Especially with the Blizzard set, we'll get a lot more critical rate with those cryo damage and also the freeze damage. Now the Venomous Hunt can be obtained from the Battle Pass with the purchase, and also the Black Cliff Warbow can be bought from the Paimon shop. But what if you cannot purchase those bows, or if you don't have the resource? So we can look into the Prototype Crescent and also the Royal Bow. So for those two particular weapons, I don't think they're the best in slot, but they're something that will do. For the Royal Bow, it's also purchased from the Paimon shop. This one increases attack percentage, it also increases a critical rate. For the Prototype Crescent, it also increases attack percentage as a secondary stats, and also increase attack for hitting the weak spots. Now with the aim shot of Ganyu, we really do want to focus on the weak spot, because by hitting on the weak spot, we also guarantee a critical damage. So by now you guys can tell, I really enjoy playing Ganyu and I think she has a lot of potential at Constellation 0. We'll briefly have a look at how powerful she can be at Constellation 0 and how she can be a very powerful support with elemental combos and also a really powerful cryo DPS. We know that currently only Chi-Chi and Ganyu are the cryo characters. Until Ayaka comes in with the new Imazuma map, we only have one cryo DPS and that is going to be Ganyu. So if we come over to the stats of Ganyu, if we come to the constellations, what we're going to see is, although the constellations are nice with Constellation 1, Constellation 4 that deals increased damage, we also have the special ability of Ganyu resetting the Frost Flag Arrow with the E spell. Those are not essential, those are not must-have. And in this particular demonstration, if we have a look at this replay again, what we're going to see is, we can see this Ganyu has a very low charge timer once you use her E spell, and this is a Constellation 6 Ganyu. So over here, what we want to focus is this Ganyu using her E-spell. Notice that she used her E-spell and her charge attack happened instantly. But even when that happened instantly, it doesn't feel a much of a game changer. So let's have a look at this again. So she is going to wait for the villain to fall. This is a Constellation 6 Ganyu. And once the villain falls, she can use her E-spell to instantly gain the charge attack. And yes, she still have to aim, and although she is about 1 second faster, this is not a massive difference. And in comparison, if we come over to this clip with the Constellation 0 Ganyu, we can see that she can still charge attack. With 1 second delay, she still does the charge attack. So you don't have to go into E, then do your charge attack. You can still charge attack and this works perfectly. Notice that there isn't that much difference with Constellation 6, so you don't have to pay to win to get to Ganyu to Constellation 6. Now to be fair, we do a little more damage with Ganyu lower the enemy's resistance and also increase damage with her ultimate. But notice that none of those actually increase her charge attack damage, because those only increase her E-spell damage and also her ultimate damage. Those doesn't increase her charge attack damage, which is actually in the normal attack range. So we can be a Constellation 0 Ganyu and enjoy a massive damage boost just with the correct items and also weapons. So this is very good for the free-to-play players. Now, knowing that Ganyu can be a really powerful carry, she can also be a really good support. So we can see that she increased the damage enemy takes with Constellation 4, but we don't need to go that far. Just by having her passives, she increased the team's cryo damage by 20%. This can be a really good support for Kaya, for Chuyan, and also Ayaka to come. And also, the ability for Ganyu to consistently debuff enemy with her ultimate is very powerful. This is a massive radius, 15-second cooldown, 15-second duration. If you go for support Ganyu, you can build a lot of energy gain, and this will enable so many combinations. We can go with the melt synergy with the supporting Ganyu, we can go with the super conduct, we can increase physical damage, we can increase elemental damage or even burst damage for the pyro characters. And this makes her very flexible, and I'm really enjoying the ability to mix up. I can go with a main cryo DPS or I can go with a cryo support. Now let me know what you guys think about those Ganyu builds with the artifact set and also the weapons, and how would you build Ganyu with different combinations of resonance parties and also characters. And of course, before we finish, there's one thing we must do with Ganyu, and I'm not sure you guys know what it is. I'm gonna aim! I'm sorry Timmy, I have to try this once. Look at all the birds! One got away though. So Ganyu is really good at farming those birds. Because of the AoE damage, no one can escape, and she doesn't have to do anything, just one shot kills all the birds. Now if you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe and also turn the little bell on for the latest news. I'll be looking towards to make more builds, guides, tips and news and event updates for us as we come further into the game. And as always, I wish you guys the best of luck with Genshin and have the most fun in exploring this wonderful world.